Welcome into One of One Sports. Today we're going to do an NBA playoff predictions now that the regular season is over. And first, we have to go through the NBA play-in tournament. We have the Hawks versus the Magic and the Warriors versus the Grizzlies as the 7-8 games, Bulls versus Heat, Kings versus Mavericks in the 9-10 spots. For Hawks versus Magic, the Magic, much better defensive team here, right? Even with Jalen Suggs out, you still have KCP, a really good defender. Anthony Black, a good defender. Paolo and Franz can defend. Jonathan Isaac's really good. And overall, they're just one of the best defensive teams in the league. And I would certainly like them in a 7-game series. But in this one and done kind of scenario against a Hawks team that's been in the play-in before and has won in the play-in before with a player like Trae Young who likes this kind of moment, he has tended to show up in the end of these kinds of games. I do think having this shot creating scoring guard, like we see in March Madness, oftentimes in this one and done scenario, can be really helpful. And I think the Hawks are going to defeat the Magic to lock up the 7 spot in the East. Then for Warriors Grizzlies, I think the Grizzlies just have too much turmoil right now in terms of, even though the jaw stuff, this team doesn't seem to mind. There's a lot of drama there. What he's doing, it doesn't seem like they're fully taking it serious, right? They're kind of still joking around. And that team just seems like it lacks focus to me. And you just fired your coach. I just don't like what's been going on in Memphis. It's just hard to take them seriously. I do think Golden State wins there. And then for Bulls Heat, the Heat, I think the front office and stuff just wants to keep their pick, which they do by not making the playoffs. They are well coached, but this team, they just don't seem like they've got anything going right now. And the Bulls seem to have so much momentum coming in with how well Josh Giddey and Kobe White have been playing. Even a guy like Modest Buzelis, I think they defeat the Heat. And then Kings Mavericks, super easy. DeMar DeRozan, like perfect for a play-in scenario. Zach LaVine can be good as well. And the Mavericks just have so little shot creation from their guards. I think it'd be really rough for them. The Kings win, setting up these matchups in single elimination games. And I will go Magic over the Bulls. The Magic, I think, are a different class of team, and I think Paolo will be the best player on the court pretty easily. Franz could even be the second best player, even though they have struggled to play together. And I think their defense is a lot better than Miami's, and the Bulls guards will struggle against Orlando. And then Kings Grizzlies was actually really, really tough because I think the Kings are such a good team for the play-in. They're like built for the play-in tournament, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But the Grizzlies have been the better team all year. And I don't know, it just losing 2 games in a row to follow the playoffs. I'm going to say they don't do that and they can get the win to secure the 8 seed in the West. And now we can get into the playoff bracket. And this is what it would look like starting off with OKC and Memphis. If this, just for the record, if this were the Dallas Mavericks, I would go OKC in a sweep. And the Kings, I think I would go OKC in probably 5. If it's the Warriors, that would be more interesting to talk about. Probably OKC at 6. But it is the Grizzlies, and I'm going the Thunder at 5 quickly through that one. It's just, I think it'd be a really quick series. Don't see the Thunder struggling a lot with the Grizzlies. I think Ja would struggle having the Thunder having all these wing defenders. And in terms of who's going to guard SGA, the Grizzlies' best perimeter defender is probably Jalen Wells. He's not going to play in this series. I could see Zach Edey struggling against the Thunder. And you have a first-time coach he's only coached like a couple weeks in the NBA. Now he's being asked to coach in the playoffs. I don't like anything about this matchup for the Grizzlies. Don't think there would be any problem for OKC. Thunder in 5 there. Now, Nuggets Clippers, I think, is actually a really, really tough series to pick. Obviously, the Nuggets have the best player in Nikola Jokic, best player in the world. Probably going to finish second MVP, but he's a 3-time MVP, averaged a triple-double. It's just we know who Nikola Jokic is. But the Clippers have been playing much better recently than the Nuggets. The Nuggets just fired their coach as well, Mike Malone. He's gone. So you have an inexperienced coach in terms of coaching in the NBA playoffs. He's only coached like 3 times in the NBA. Now he's being asked to coach a playoff series. I don't love that. Jamal Murray just now coming back from injury. Maybe we don't even know for sure if he will be back. I don't love that either. Not the Thunder. The Nuggets they have much less depth than the Clippers. You may have to rely on a guy like Russell Westbrook. Don't love that. And Ivica Zubac, although he's obviously not going to shut down Nikola Jokic, he has been better than any player in the NBA at guarding him probably, which doesn't say he guards him well. It just means guards him better than what everybody else does. And with how Kawhi Leonard is looking recently, rounding into playoff form, and I'm assuming James Harden won't completely melt down in the first round of the playoffs, I think the Clippers, even on the road, win this series in 7. I'll say, because I think Jokic is just that good, and I could see him just carrying the Nuggets to this win. But the Clippers have more depth. Ty Lue over this young coach or inexperienced playoff coach, I think is a pretty big advantage. And the Clippers are just playing their best ball of the season. They're the best defensive team in the league right now. Arguably, they're up there with like the Magic and the Thunder. And the Nuggets defense has just been terrible. I think there's too much going on with the Nuggets in terms of things falling apart at the wrong time. I think the Clippers win this series. Next up, we have Lakers Timberwolves, and I think this is a really, really bad draw for the Timberwolves. If the last day of the season had gone differently and the Warriors had beaten the Clippers and was an overtime game, the Timberwolves would have got the 5 seed and played Denver, who they beat last year and have beaten every time this season. That would have been really, really ideal for them. But playing the Lakers, I think is just such a bad matchup when you look at what Luka Doncic what Luka Doncic could potentially do in the pick and roll against Rudy Gobert, like what he did last year in the playoffs, and kind of expose what a lot of teams have exposed about Rudy Gobert in the playoffs in the past when you pull him away from the basket. So I see that as a major, major concern. And Jaden McDaniels didn't do a great job on Luka last year. Maybe he's improved, but I don't know. I feel like there's not really anyone on the Timberwolves I trust to guard Luka. Julius Randle historically has been terrible in the playoffs, and you're relying on him a lot. I do think Ant will show up and play great, which is enough for me to think they can maybe get 2 games here. I don't see it pushing a 7. This is a 5 or 6 game series in my mind. I think Luka torches them. LeBron, I think, plays really well as I don't think they have someone who's going to really play great defense against them, or against him, I should say. And yeah, I just think Minnesota is relying on 2 guys in Gobert and Julius Randle who have huge playoff flaws. And I think the Lakers would win this one. I'll call it 6, but I'm pretty confident in the Lakers getting past the Timberwolves there. And then the Rockets Warriors, a really, really difficult series to pick. I mean, this is the ultimate kind of youth or classic youth versus experience thing when you have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green going up against a team that's never been in the playoffs before. I'm sure it would just be Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks that made the playoffs. The Rockets, obviously, great defensive team. We've seen what Amen Thompson did to Steph Curry just recently, holding him to 3 points. I don't think he's going to hold Steph Curry to 3 points in this series. But I do think the Rockets are. I feel like a lot of people are going to pick the Warriors, even though the Rockets are the 2 seed. But I think the Rockets definitely could win this series, and I personally have it 7. But the thing about me thinking a series is going 7 is in that game 7, who do you trust? And to me, it's a lot like that Sacramento series the Warriors had a couple of years ago, where ultimately Steph Curry's going to come through. Jimmy Butler's come through. These veteran players have been here before. They're going to make the plays, whereas a young guy like Jalen Green or Şengün or Amen Thompson isn't quite as ready for these big time moments that are going to happen down the stretch. And additionally, the Rockets' half court offense has a tendency to stall, and this Warriors defense has been playing really, really good. So I could see some low scoring games, some really tough fought battles, but ultimately in 7 games, I will go with the Warriors to win behind probably a big night from Steph Curry. He gets hot and he makes sure his team gets through to the second round, because a lot of times in the playoffs, having the best player on the court is just that important. And there's a decent chance the Warriors will have 2 if we get, some form of playoff Jimmy Butler. Moving on to the Eastern Conference, Cavs Magic, a rematch of last year's first round series that went 7 games. But these teams have headed in opposite directions. The Magic have fallen off somewhat because of injuries. The Cavs have obviously ascended. And yeah, I don't think it's going to go 7. I'll go Cavs. I will say in 5, just because Paolo Banchero has proven he can do a lot of damage to the Cavaliers. I'll say he goes off like 1 game that gets them the win. But overall, the Cavs are just the far better team in pretty much every way. Better shooting team, not a better defensive team, so not every way, but far better offensive team. And the gap there is wider than defensively. So the Cavs will clearly win this series. And then the Pacers Bucks, maybe I could see it going 7. Last year, is this another first round rematch? I think last year, Giannis was out for a lot of the series, maybe the whole series, actually. And the Pacers were able to advance. This year, Dame, I think, is probably going to be out the whole series. I know there's some rumors of him coming back. Even if he does, I doubt he's going to be at full strength. And I think this young Pacers team running up and down against a Milwaukee team that lacks a bit of athleticism, I think Milwaukee's going to really struggle defensively. I think Tyrese Halliburton is the best player to have in the clutch here, like in terms of all the players in this series, more so than Giannis, because what's happened to Giannis with the lack of shooting in the playoffs in the past, and when it comes down to these close games, which I think there may be a lot of. Obviously, Milwaukee won't go without a fight. They have a top probably 2-3 player in the world in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I think he could, even if he averages like 40 12-5. Like that might not be enough. And it's kind of similar to the Jokic thing. Like the two best players in the world probably are just trying to carry these lackluster squads in the playoffs. And even though I think they'll perform and have these ridiculous numbers, it's just not going to be enough. They aren't going to be able to win 1-5. And I'll go Pacers in 6 in that matchup. And yeah, the Pacers for 2 years in a row eliminate the Milwaukee Bucks. Knicks Pistons. This one I'm really excited to see. In the preseason, I predicted Cade Cunningham to win Most Improved Player, make All NBA team, and I predicted the Pistons to make the playoffs. So I don't think there's anyone who was really higher on the Pistons than I was coming into the year, and they've exceeded even my expectations. The Knicks have pretty much been what people expected them to be. Maybe a little disappointing in terms of not beating some of the best teams in the league, but just record-wise, quality of team-wise, they've been about what we thought they would be at the 3 seed in the East, I would say. And I think this is going to be like Cade Cunningham's kind of breakout moment for like the casual fan who hasn't been watching Pistons basketball, and they're going to see how good Cade Cunningham can be. And I think he's going to be the best player in the series. I know what Jalen Brunson can do. He's going to win Clutch Player of the Year. He's been great in the playoffs before, but I do think Cade Cunningham will outplay Jalen Brunson. I think Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, these wing defenders will do a better job on Brunson than what Bridges, Anunoby, Josh Hart will do on Cade Cunningham. So I think the Pistons will have the best player on the series. I think they're the better defensive team. I do have concerns about what Jalen Duren might look like in a playoff series with what Cat can do stretching him out. But historically, Cat has struggled in the playoffs. Now, he was pretty good last year with Minnesota, but you never know if that could pop up again. And this one is the toughest series for me to pick out of every first round matchup. I have it going 7. And part of me is like the Knicks just have too much for this Pistons team that's just overachieved already. But on the other hand, I'm so high on Cade Cunningham. I was so high on that coming into the year. And game 7, I think Cade Cunningham's going to come through in the Garden. His like huge star breakout moment. Game 7 outplays Jalen Brunson in the Garden. I'm going with the Pistons to pull what I think is the only upset I picked. No, I picked I don't know. Do you count the Warriors and Clippers as upsets? I'm not sure. But this is for sure an upset in the Pistons beating the Knicks. It's a risky pick. The Knicks are more likely to win this series for sure, but I'm going out on a limb and say Cade Cunningham's just going to ball out. I think he's one of the best players in the league. I think he's going to be a playoff riser and prove he's a great playoff performer. And I think the Pistons win this series in 7, and then the Celtics will crush the Hawks. I'm always hesitant to say 4 with the Celtics because I feel like they'll give you a game. So I'll say 5 against the Hawks just because there will be one game where the Celtics just don't show up or something. But no doubt the Celtics would win that series. And if this were any of the playing teams, Celtics and Cavs, they'll beat all of them. No concerns about any of those teams, all in 4 or 5 games. None of them even push either of those teams. Next up, we have the Thunder versus the Clippers, and what's a matchup between two of the deepest teams in the playoffs. The Thunder, for sure, the deepest, but the Clippers are up there. What I'd be really interested to see here is what do the Thunder do? Do they start Chet against Zubac? Because if so, I could see Zubac being a big advantage on the boards, and he's also been good defensively. But if they go Hartenstein, I'm not sure what you're doing with Chet, as the Clippers often put Kawhi at the 4 with James Harden, Norman Powell, Derrick Jones Jr., so that'd be interesting to see what OKC does with the lineups. But because of their depth, they have so much versatility in terms of what they can put out there. And although as much like Kawhi is one of my favorite players, I have his jersey pretty much right behind me. You guys can't see it. And I do think he's one of the best playoff performers ever. But James Harden, around this time of the playoffs, he's going to start to have some, very concerning performances. And the Thunder have just been so good all year. The Clippers have been great defensively. Thunder have been even better. And Shea, I think, will be the best player on the court, which goes a long way. They're even deeper than the Clippers, which hurts some of the Clippers' advantages they have against most teams in terms of depth. And yeah, I don't trust James Harden. Kawhi's health, like at this point in the playoffs, is a concern in terms of not is he going to be like this huge injury, but just his body tends to wear down in the playoffs. He's getting older as well, so he's still that concern. And the Clippers, just historically, such a terrible franchise to pick to go far in the playoffs, and I can't pick them to upset this OKC team that's been historically great, the best point differential ever, one of the best records ever, going to have the MVP of the league, the deepest team, one of the best defenses ever. There's just so much on paper great about this Oklahoma City team that as much as I do like this Clippers squad with what they've been doing lately, rounding into form of what Kawhi's looked like lately, looking almost like vintage Kawhi, and I do think they can push them to 6, maybe even 7, but I'll say 6 games. I will still go the Oklahoma City Thunder to advance to the conference finals. And then Lakers Warriors, I think the Lakers are coming off what was like an easier 5-6 game series against the Timberwolves. The Warriors are coming off short rest, playing in the play-in, then playing a brutal, I think it's gonna be like a long, hard-fought series against the Rockets. They're already an older team. I think they run out of gas personally, and I think the Lakers look fresher, especially late into this series, as I think it's gonna go probably 6 games, and the Lakers will end up winning. Trust me, I don't like the Lakers are my least favorite team in the league. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan. I don't like Luka Doncic. I don't want to see Lakers win, and I hope I'm wrong about this. But I think they got a really good draw, and I think because the Warriors are coming out of the play-in will be less fresh. I think that's an advantage. And even when the Warriors beat them the last time, the Warriors shot crazy from three, and it was still right there down the stretch. Steph Curry, I'm sure will be great. I'm not sure how good Jimmy Butler will be. I know Luka and LeBron are probably going to be great. And I think the Lakers are going to get the win here. Defensively, the Warriors are probably a little bit better, but I don't think it's going to be huge because Lakers have been, when it seems like when they want to be, they can be a pretty solid defense. And yeah, I think the Lakers would win that series. Coming out east, Cavs Pacers, they actually played like 2 of the last games of the season were against each other, but neither time were all the players there for the Cavs. And the Cavs have been better all year. I do think the Pacers can kind of cause some problems for the Cavaliers. But in terms of the star, like Donovan Mitchell is going to be really good. I think Darius Garland is going to be really good and prove a lot of his doubters wrong. I think Evan Mobley can do a really good job on Pascal Siakam as well. Jarrett Allen. I mean, so many weapons for the Cavs. They shoot it well from three. And Tyrese Halliburton, I think, will be really good. But I don't know if he's going to be good every single game. And the Cavaliers, I mean, there's a reason they're the 1 seed in the East. They've been better than the Pacers all year. I'll give Pacers respect and say they can take it 6 games, but I got to go the Cavs. I can't think of a major advantage the Pacers have. Like Cavs, I think, are a better shooting team, better defensively, better offense. Probably will have the best player of the series, a deeper team, even with a guy like Ty Jerome off the bench. I just don't really see any advantage that the Pacers really have over the Cavaliers. Then we have Celtics Pistons, and this would be a really easy series to pick. I mean, it's the Celtics. As much as I like Cade Cunningham, as much as I like the Pistons, coming off pulling that upset over New York, they're going to be worn out. Boston has so many different defenders to throw at Cade. There's not going to be enough secondary creation from the Pistons, not enough shot making, and their defense isn't even an edge in this series. Boston's probably better defensively and will do just fine against the Pistons. This is a 5-game series again for Boston because, like I said, they usually give one away. And we get Celtics, Cavs, Thunder, Lakers. What is probably going to be the most picked conference finals, I would imagine, are these 2 series. So a little bit chalky by me, but I just got to be honest, this is what I see happening. So now we can pick Thunder, Lakers, and if there's going to be a team to beat the Thunder in the West, it's probably the Lakers just because of the problems they've had guarding Luka Doncic. But at this point in the series, it's different than if they were to play round one when the Lakers are completely fresh, Luka's completely fresh, LeBron's completely fresh. But when you have a 40-year-old in LeBron who's going to be in round 3 of the playoffs, a player in Luka who's historically, I mean, the Mavericks overstated his issues, obviously trading him, but he has had some injury concerns in the playoffs weighing down, sometimes looking a little out of shape. And you're going up against the best defensive team in the league. Lou Dort's going to try to beat him up again like he did last year. And the Lakers already are so much less deep than the Thunder. And you have to account, like, no team's going to be completely healthy. But if the Lakers lose even a guy like Jackson Hayes, like now all of a sudden they have these problems because they don't have any depth really there. So a team that has this many, like the Lakers have the highest upside probably of anyone in the playoffs outside of Boston and maybe OKC. But I mean, the floor is a lot lower than these other 3 teams because you lack depth. And at this point in the playoffs, that's going to be a concern. And I don't think JJ Redick's a better coach than Mark Dagenhalt. And OKC has just been historically good. They're going to get here relatively easily. The Lakers, I do think, will be challenged by Golden State. I mean, the Thunder will be challenged by the Clippers, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But yeah, at this point in the playoffs, I do think the Lakers have worn down a bit. I don't think they're making the NBA Finals. I also think continuity is an issue, just not having played enough together. And I think the Thunder win this series in probably 6 games. So I'll go 5-6-6 for the Thunder. And now we get Cavs Celtics, which this is the series people I think have expected to see for a long time in the Eastern Conference this season. It's 1 versus 2. And just going through it, I know the Cavs are the 1 seed, but Boston, you have the experience edge in terms of you've been to the conference finals so many times before and are the defending champs. You have the star power edge. You have the best player of the series in Jason Tatum, so you have that advantage. I think you're the deeper team. Even like past Peyton Pritchard versus Ty Jerome. That's a debate, but having Al Horford off the bench is also huge. And I think Boston's actually a deeper team than Cleveland. Their strategy, I think, works better in the playoffs in terms of putting up all these threes. I think matchup wise, Cleveland can struggle to match up with all the wings and struggle to have enough wing defense, even with bringing a guy like DeAndre Hunter. Like, who is Evan Mobley? He's a great defender, but are you putting him on Jason Tatum? Like, I don't know. That's a bit concerning with what Boston can potentially do from three and spacing out a guy like Jarrett Allen with Kristaps Porzingis. As good as Cleveland is, it's hard for me to find an area where I think they're better than this Boston Celtics team. And Boston, like having Derek White, Drew Holiday, I mean, the starting five is just ridiculous, and you're deep. I have to go with the Boston Celtics to set up what I predicted in the preseason, what I predicted in my All-Star update, and what I'm still predicting now. And that is that the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics will face off in the NBA Finals. To me, it's been clear for a long time these were the best teams in the NBA. They're the best constructed teams in terms of what it's like for the modern NBA, in terms of all their guys can defend, all their guys can shoot. You have guys off the bench you trust. They're pretty much perfectly built teams, right? Even though they have this star like Tatum and Shea, who are top, probably I would say top four players in the NBA. You still have so much around them to support them, and it's a true team. And this would be a great, great series. They match up really, really well. Like Chet and Porzingis, somewhat similar. Tatum to Shea, Brown to J-Dub. There's a lot of similarities between these teams. But the Thunder were 2-0 against the Celtics on the season. I do think the Thunder are deeper than the Celtics, even though the Celtics are deep. And the Thunder are a really good three-point defense, which we saw the last time they played. The Celtics are just going to keep chucking threes, even if OKC defends it well, because Boston's like not going to move off that strategy. And I think that actually gives the Thunder an edge. They also force a ton of turnovers, and Boston can be a little bit sloppy with the ball. And Jason Tatum versus Shea, I don't know, it's going to be tight who's the best player in the series, but Shea has been better this year during the regular season. I think there's a chance he's better than Tatum. Well, definitely a chance, but that's tight there. Coaching wise, two young up and coming guys who seem to be really good coaches. Experience definitely favors the Celtics, but I picked the Celtics last year to win the title, and a lot of that was because just look at the numbers, right? They're better, they're the best in every single category, and that's just how I feel about OKC this year. Like, you're the best point differential ever, you have the best record in the league, you're the best defense, you force the most turnovers, you have the best bench unit. There's so much to indicate. Like, no team as good as OKC has ever not won the finals based off the metrics. And for those reasons, as much as I like the Boston Celtics, as good as they look, I have to pick the Oklahoma City Thunder to win their first ever championship as the Thunder. Of course, they won the Supersonics. And yeah, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder will be NBA champions. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, finals MVP, and he enters the debate as the best player, well, second best player in the league to Nikola Jokic. And I think this would be a really, really great playoffs if all this were to happen. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you have winning your NBA Finals? What's the matchup? Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching.